Apparently, bisexual men make the best lovers. I guess you gotta know how to get it to give it.
Getting screwed by your boss now has new meaning.
And everything you always wanted to know about polyamory but were afraid to ask. Coming up today on The Point. Hello and welcome to The Point, the only talk show bringing gay and straight men together to see what happens. And this is a St. Patrick's Day week, so I am wearing green.
Clearly.
Celebration.
I hadn't noticed.
Really? You hadn't noticed the green?
Until right now.
That is really bright.
Well, we're going to talk about St. Patrick's Day a little bit later, but you may have also noticed that there's someone else sitting at the table.
Who? Why are you looking at me?
Ooh.
I'm looking.
Who's the guy in the stripes?
Yes. Well, actually, we had a little bit of a debate whether or not that's gray or green.
It is so green.
Green gray.
It's gray.
It's gray to
Green,
me.
gray on the grayer side.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm half colorblind, so I don't know. I just think
It's like that
green.
dress.
It's not gonna look green next to your shirt.
Right. This is as green as it gets.
It's like a highlighter green.
We have with us today a special guest co-host, David Williston of Polyamory Toronto.
Hello.
Welcome.
Fine, sir.
Which brings us to talking point number 1, the more, the merrier. So in the current issue of Playboy magazine, Scarlett Johansson gave an interview in which she said it isn't natural to be monogamous. She said, I think the idea of marriage is very romantic. It's a beautiful idea and the practice can be very beautiful. I just don't think it's natural to be a monogamous person. I might be skewered for that, but I don't think it has worked. It's a lot of work. Which got me and the rest of us thinking about this issue of polyamory. And in fact, I mentioned this to someone recently, and then the question came up, wait, isn't polyamory illegal? Well, of course, that's polygamy, but then what is polyamory versus polygamy versus monogamy? So I reached out to Polyamory Toronto, and David was kind enough to join us. So let me, right off the bat, what is polyamory?
Polyamory is the openness to having multiple relationships, not usually just sexual, and that's one of the differentiations between a lot of other open styles of relationship, is that there's usually an emotional component to it. So it's people who want to have more of a relationship than just kind of sleeping around having casual sex. So polyamory is with kind of the consent and knowledge of everyone involved. So that's something else that sets it apart from some of those other behaviors, is that there's a lot of transparency and honesty that's really, really pushed to the forefront of the culture.
So what's the difference then? Because
So what is polygamy then?
Yeah.
Well, polygamy is marriage. That's always a component of it.
Multiple marriage.
It's usually one lead partner with multiple either husbands or wives.
Got it.
Typically.
Cool.
Yeah. Didn't you see Big Love?
I did. Oh,
Bill Paxton.
What?
I
We
know.
should have talked
sad.
about
I know. So what is the difference then? Big Love, it wasn't a big HBO show? Was it about a...
more
No, I know. I
Yeah,
just didn't
okay.
think. Okay, it's fine.
Yeah. So what's the difference then between polyamory and open relationships?
Well, open relationships is basically a big umbrella term. It can mean a lot of different things. And again, open relationships can involve the kind of relationships that don't really have a lot of discussion, premeditating them. So it can be kind of dating around, don't ask, don't tell. A lot of those other styles of open relationship that are very little work. To be honest, a lot of the time is you just kind of go and do. Whereas polyamory is more of a focus on putting the work into preparing yourself and preparing your partners for all the eventualities, such as what if we fall in love, what if this, what if that, what if they have kids, what if, and you have discussions about that and come to agreements. And I think that's something that really doesn't happen a lot in just open relationships when people say they're having an open relationship.
You mentioned all the different kinds. There's an infographic, I think it's on your website, which actually is really cool, and hopefully we can get it on the screen. It's sort of this big Venn diagram of all these different kinds of relationships. It's funny that Scarlett Johansson said monogamy is a lot of work. If you look at that diagram, it looks like that's a lot of work, because there's a lot of different definitions and...
Well, you know what, in preparation for coming today, I was having a look at it again. I've seen it before, and I went to a Poly 101 panel, I think last year, the year before, where there was a lot of discussion about all those overlaps. But even kind of now that I've been part of the community for like 2 years, almost 2.5 years, and I was kind of looking at that diagram just the other day, and I thought like, wow, the only person that this whole diagram is really going to make a lot of sense to is someone who falls into a lot of these categories. But I think that's fine because it's basically a resource. If you look at it as not being just so much one static image, but look at it as being kind of like arrows pointing you in the right direction of how it is that you would identify. That's where it is that I think can be most useful, is someone who's like, oh, but this is what I do in my relationship, so where does that fall? And then you look at that picture and you're kind of going around and around and around, and you're like, oh, there I am. And it just gives you that point. And it is interesting to see the overlap, but I think that kind of complex overlapping in the image where you see all of kind of the terms blending together, it's not really necessary to understand all the overlap unless you are actually a part of that overlap. Because for me personally, I kind of only fall into kind of like that one larger purple box with maybe a few the polyamory.
Okay.
The polyamory box that's kind of like in the middle there. And I see maybe kind of like towards the bottom some of like the kink zone and stuff like that. I might kind of like overlap with some of that, but the rest of what's going on in that picture, I don't relate personally.
Can we just say that would be a great name for a bar?
The kink
The
zone?
kink zone.
It probably is.
I have a question. So, like, can someone who is, I don't know how to say, like, polyamorous? Polyamorous.
Poly, many, amorous, love.
Oh, well, there you go.
Many loves.
So someone who is that, can they, I won't say it, but is it hard for them to date, for example, or is it like for someone who is monogamous, I guess, where it's like, does that work? Like if you find yourself in a relationship where you're like, wait, I'm that, and then my partner is monogamous, can that work? Or
For sure.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's actually a pretty common term, which is polymono.
Okay.
Polymono relationships, where, I mean, that, again, it takes a lot of, self-knowing and a lot of self-confidence to be able to be in a relationship where you know that your partner is going out and loving more people, being with more people, establishing more connections, and to not fall into kind of a deeper sense of envy or jealousy.
How does one do that? How does one have that kind of self-confidence and security?
Oh my God.
I guess it's kind of that thing
Lots of
that,
practice.
I mean, if you love someone, you want them to have good things.
Right.
And if you know someone well enough to know that, good things for them are going to be plentiful things that maybe I don't have the capacity to give them. And I'm not going to say, just because I can't give them, that means you have to live without them. Instead, it's more, you know what? I can appreciate that I'm only so much of a person and you need something else.
Incredibly generous.
It is.
What I have noticed more often is monogamous couples where maybe both members of the couple, but more so it's one couple realizes that monogamy is not for them, but they're in this monogamous relationship and there's a desire to open up the relationship. How do people deal with that issue?
From what I've seen, it's with a fair amount of natural finesse that seems to come out when people just have a lot of love for each other and they don't want to give up on a relationship they've already got going. Because one of Polyamory Toronto's reoccurring events that happens every single month is called a Chat and Learn. And it happens twice a month, but at those, the lead organizer, Eva, for the community, she puts a lot of work into researching all kinds of topics that are very relevant to the polyamorous community, and she has kind of this safer space at the 519 Community Center discussion where people are welcome to come and sit and have talks about how do we deal with insecurity, how do we deal with jealousy, how do we open up, how do we broach with people, how do we broach with family, like other people in our lives, to let them know we've made this decision. And I see a lot of married couples that are there, and their story, when they open up, they say, we've been together 8 years, 10 years, 15 years, and we've always known that something just wasn't quite clicking and connecting for us. And then we stumbled across your community, so here we are, hand in hand, saying, how do we do this? And I think even just getting to that point of saying, here we are together, we're doing this together, we're trying this together, we're open, we want to learn, that's already a huge step. And it doesn't take a lot then for them to just soak up, the experiences of other people where they find that it's not so, dissimilar as their own. But I'm always really impressed when I see these, married couples or longtime couples that come in and they just seem so, like a poise that I think just comes from the love they have for each other.
Gay couples, straight couples, both?
I haven't seen a married gay couple. I have seen, a couple of longer-term gay couples that have come to those meetings
Because
as well.
the reason why I ask is because, well, you mentioned the 519 Community Center, which is an LGBT community center here, and you hear more and more this term throuple.
That's a bad term.
Well, I didn't create it.
I love
Surprising.
wombos, but whatever this is bad.
I mean,
word
triad.
combos.
I've heard triad used,
is
but
that?
it's three people, usually three guys, in a relationship that functions as a couple.
Like the Father, Son, and the Holy.
No,
No,
not at all like that.
I don't understand the Bible.
Anyway, so my question is polyamory more welcome, accepting in the LGBT community than in the non-LGBT community? Is it something that's more accepted among gay men than among straight couples?
So I'm kind of speaking more from my own experience in the last couple
And
of
you
years.
identify as
As pansexual.
As pansexual.
Myself.
And what does that mean?
Pansexual? For me, I define it as being an openness to finding attraction with whoever I may. And I really found a lot more confidence in that when, I guess about 3 years ago, I was already open to being attracted to men and to women, but then I kind of fell head over heels in love with the local drag queen Heavenly Heights. And I thought, okay, so
She's
how...
awesome.
Yeah, she
I love
is.
her.
So I thought, like, how do I define this to myself, finding Heavenly so attractive, but not really having that based on anything having to do with gender. Instead, it's her, it's her energy, it's her, animosity when she performs, it's all of that attitude. And I thought, okay, so that would be a kind of attraction that falls more into pansexuality, where it's just an openness to being gender blind and just, loving people based on what you feel when you're around them and not kind of putting too much thought into, what the anatomy might actually be beneath the clothes. So that's kind of my take on pansexuality.
Now, what about critics of, there have to be critics out there of polyamory.
For sure.
How do you respond to people who say it's not normal, it's a slippery slope?
Well, what I've gotten personally is people calling me greedy. And they haven't even been trying to be funny.
The way that you explained it before, though, is not being greedy at all.
It's the
can't-
opposite,
Yeah, it's
really.
completely the opposite.
Well, I guess if people are on the outside looking in, they don't always understand that it's not just a choice being made for oneself. I mean, of course, that's kind of like the number one thing. I mean, self-care and, caring about yourself, knowing yourself. But it's not all about just, I want to have more in my life. It's also appreciating, what? I want my partner to be able to have whatever they want. I want my partners, to be able to live their lives. And if I see them once a month or every couple of weeks, that's fine because, it's worth it to see each other. And if we can't see each other more often, if we can't live together, if we can't get married or whatever, that's fine. I can accept our relationship as where it is. So there is kind of a generosity and understanding, and it's a different kind of love. Like, it's a kindness.
Right.
I think it's a kindness that just kind of comes out of people that polyamory is a natural choice for.
How many partners do you have?
That's a difficult question. And I mean, I don't.
He wants you to spill tea.
I don't find the question offensive myself, but that's usually a question that's frowned upon in the community. A lot of people don't like answering it because it's almost like qualifying your level of polyamory. For me, it's just difficult to answer it because
So, like, do you live with anyone?
I live with a partner that I've been with for 4.5 years, almost 5 years. And I have maybe 3 or 4 other partners that kind of are, orbiting partners that I don't necessarily see on a very frequent basis, but we definitely have a love and a connection and a relationship.
But does your partner that you live with also have a connection with them, or is it just you?
Oh, he's not seeing any of the people that I'm seeing. He has a partner of his own that he started seeing more recently. I guess I'm the one with the more partners right now, but whatever that means. I'm more
Greedy.
greedy. I'm more greedy.
Apparently.
Yeah.
Or he's more generous. However you want to look at it.
There you go. He'll love to hear that.
Well, if people have more questions about polyamory, or if they're in the Toronto area and are interested in your group and finding out more information, where do they find that?
So there is a website, polyamorytoronto.ca, but most of the activity is kind of run through Meetup. Like we're really big on Meetup. It's been a platform that's really worked for us. So if you go on meetup.com and search for Polyamory Toronto, we'll be there.
Are there resources that are more broader than just the Toronto stuff?
Yes, and I didn't memorize them.
Okay,
I'm terrible. If you go to Polyamory Toronto, there's a great resource link there that's already been compiled by the other organizers of the community, because I'm kind of more of a late blooming organizer in the community, so I don't know all of the links, all of the other resources.
But it's all on the website.
Yeah, for sure.
Polyamorytoronto.ca.
Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you, David.
Thank you for having me.
And now it's time for Tito's Midpoint.
All right, this week we're playing Moot Point. It's a mix of true or false and multiple choice. So
And the theme is?
it's St. Patrick's Day theme. Woo! So some fun facts and trivia. All right, so we'll start with March 17th is when St. Patrick was born or when he died.
He died.
I'll say born.
Died.
None of the
Also
above.
died.
Trick question.
Every time.
Died.
Oh.
Yeah, when you die, you become a saint, and that's
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Everybody.
Idiot.
Everyone, yes. When you die, you
Duh.
become a saint.
Yes.
okay. True or false? The shamrock is the symbol of Ireland.
What's a shamrock? Sorry. I don't-
What's a shamrock?
What does it look like?
It's
Quickly.
the symbol of a McDonald's milkshake.
The four-leaf
Four-leaf
clover.
clover.
Okay, well, you could just said that.
It's a shamrock.
Puts me down. Like,
No, it's not the symbol of the country. No.
It's synonymous with the country,
Yeah, but it's not the symbol.
Yeah,
I think,
false.
isn't it thistles or something?
What is
It's a
it?
popular.
Isn't it the harp?
It is. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. I don't even have to read the whole
how do you
thing.
know everything?
The harp.
I think he knows.
The Irish harp.
It's on a Guinness can as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, yeah.
The bartender here.
I thought you were saying the Guinness can is also a symbol of Ireland.
Yeah, that's true. The Guinness
Well, the
can.
Guinness, anything Guinness.
Okay.
Your odds of finding a four-leaf clover are about 1 in 10,000 or 1 in 100,000.
1 in 10,000.
100,000.
I'd say 100.
100,000.
Yeah, but I mean,
10,000.
The only reason why I got it right is because Matthew, the camera man over there, just nodded his head.
I want to go
He
look for
helped
one
me.
now.
Sorry.
True or false? St. Patrick was Irish.
False.
False.
Really?
False.
St. Patrick is not Irish?
No.
Oh.
No, he wasn't even born in Ireland. Patrick's parents were Roman citizens living in modern-day England, or more precisely in Scotland or Wales.
Oh, wow.
But it's not really confirmed. It's not
Nor did I.
historians. Right.
uh-oh.
At the last count in 2011, according to my
Yeah,
records
yes.
here, the total number of people claiming Irish origin in Canada was over 4 million or under 4 million.
Over.
Over.
Under.
Over.
I'm looking over a four-leaf clover that I overlooked before.
It's 4,544,870. That's how many.
Whoa.
True or false? St. Patrick's was once a dry holiday in Ireland. That means no drinking.
True.
I'll say true.
Yeah,
it
because that sounds
ridiculous.
so ridiculous for the Irish.
It's true, yeah.
Yeah. Why?
Well, aside from the color green, the activity most associated with St. Patrick's Day is drinking. However, Irish law from 1903 to 1970 declared St. Patrick's Day a religious observance for the entire country, meaning that all pubs were shut down for the day.
See, again, religion is bullshit if it takes your booze away from you.
The law was overturned in 1970 when St. Patrick's was reclassified as a national holiday.
Oh, well, there you go.
And now they're all drinking all the time.
Okay, that's racist.
Anyway.
Culturist.
Cultural.
Irish is a race.
I don't know everything about it. I'm just looking.
St. Patrick was a baker or a slave.
Yes.
Slave.
Slave baker.
What?
None of the above.
Like from Joseph and the Technicolor Dreamcoat, the
Neither.
baker who was thrown in jail.
Okay, I'll say Baker.
Is Baker your final answer?
Sure, I don't know.
He was a slave.
Yes.
Yeah, at the age of 16, he was kidnapped by Irish raiders who took him away and sold him as a slave. He spent several years in Ireland herding sheep and learning about the people there.
That's right.
At the age of 22, he managed to escape.
Crazy.
Great.
Crazy.
Cray. True or false? In Chicago, the city celebrates St. Patty's Day by dyeing the Chicago River green.
That's true.
That's true.
I lived in Chicago.
100%.
That's true.
Really? That's so bad for
How
the
do they do
environment.
that?
That's what I was thinking.
It takes 40 tons of dye to get the river to a suitably festive
How is it
shape.
bad for the environment?
Because the fish is drinking like colored water. What do you mean?
I drink colored beer on St. Patrick's
But that's
Day.
you're a man.
So?
You're a man?
No,
What?
I think he's saying think of it as like dyeing the air green, and then you have to breathe
And you'd be
that.
like-
I'm sure it's like
day.
natural, like dye.
I'm pretty sure it's fine.
Yeah, but
they
like,
wouldn't
did you
do it.
ask the fish
And how
if
does
they
the
were okay
green-
with that?
I'm sure they did.
How does the green like disappear after?
It doesn't. It kind of stays green
That's what I
all
mean.
year.
It's polluting the
To
water
like top it up each year.
for whatever.
I don't know.
So-
That's worth it, really.
Patrick's associated color is red or blue.
Blue.
Green?
Blue?
Red.
I would say blue.
Because blood and slave.
It's blue.
Wow, that's
I like that. I'm gonna go with red.
dark.
And the blood
Okay,
of the
Tito.
fish dying in the water.
it's
Tito.
blue.
I don't
Yeah.
think fish's blood is red.
In several artworks depicted the saint, he is shown wearing blue vestments.
Yeah.
So that's one.
Didn't know that.
Blue, red, same thing.
Okay.
And one last one, true or false? There are no female leprechauns.
And that is
There's
true.
no, it's just like the Smurfs. There's just one.
This is factual.
Yes.
No, there are no female leprechauns.
Oh.
That's
Well,
sexist.
I'm sure
Sucks.
there's like female
What are the male-
Halloween leprechaun costumes.
Yeah, well, I'm sure there's slutty leprechauns.
But not real ones, though.
For sure.
Thank you, Tito, for today's very informative midpoint. And that brings us to talking point number 2, looking for loads.
Fred, you need to stop bringing your own personal
almost-
agenda
Okay,
to
No,
this show.
this is okay. A
Is
Canadian.
that what you call your Craigslist ads?
Well, a Canadian citizen, a Canadian guy from Vancouver, was denied access into the United States after a Customs and Border Patrol officer went through his, took his phone, went through his profile on Scruff, the hookup
Made me
app.
so angry.
And because in his profile it says he's looking for loads, the border officer thought he was a hooker and denied him entry.
Wow.
What?
That's really.
Because he thought looking for loads meant he's a hooker.
Yeah.
Why?
Because he's not smart and doesn't understand what looking for loads means.
But how did he
Hold
think
on.
that that meant hooker?
I don't.
First of all, pause. They took his
They can
phone,
go to your phone.
and they went on his
How?
like gay like thing.
They went on to his Scruff account.
So yeah.
Wait,
So
there's
like
another gay hookup?
yeah. So he went on like his gay dating app
Yes.
thing.
Yes.
And then because of the description,
It says he's looking for loads.
So now he's a hooker.
So why would they
Obviously.
choose to go through someone's phone though?
Suspicion of some sort.
Isn't that an invasion of privacy? Or
Of
do they-
course
did-
it is,
or-
but
But I mean, like, do
they're
they have?
allowed.
Do they?
They can
do
go through
that?
your luggage. They can go through whatever. So just be careful what you put on your Scruff, Grinder,
Okay,
Tinder.
but there's more to that story because the second time he went to the States, he scrubbed his entire phone. And then
Yes,
they
yes.
held him up because he had like no information.
Right.
So it was sketchy
Because
he
it was
didn't have
sketchy because he
anything.
scrubbed his phone.
Like that's so.
They just didn't know what looking for
Why do
loads
they keep
meant.
going through his phone? Is my problem.
I
here.
don't know.
I heard they didn't let. Well, I don't know, but I heard they didn't let someone
People are
go
saying.
through customs in the States because I guess like back I don't know how many months ago that person tweeted one tweet being like, oh, like about Trump being like, oh, like that was so stupid or something like that,
And they weren't
then
allowed
they
to go
didn't,
across?
and they didn't let him.
Yeah. Well, you have to. I mean, as somebody who crosses the border
What was
every
his
so often,
background?
you
Like, what does it say
gotta.
on his
My,
passport?
I don't know. He's a Canadian citizen. His name is André.
My brother actually wasn't allowed to cross the border in Detroit, and he's been going across, like going to snowboarding
When?
here. 3 weeks ago, he was taking his son to a hockey tournament and got held up at the border. So one of the other parents had to take him over. He's never had an issue in his life, but they found a like a charge on his record from '97 that he hadn't got pardoned, but he never had an issue with it. but because of whatever happened.
Like a traffic
Guys,
thing?
this is crazy.
No, it was something like it was a criminal record, obviously,
Oh,
but
okay.
but still, but I mean, like he's gone over
Yeah,
the border several
yeah,
times.
yeah.
but
It's
for
weird
whatever
that
reason
holds him
now-
up, and yet it's no problem for some other random person to take his child across the border.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's still okay for Trump to be president
Yeah.
somehow.
Ridiculous.
Fred, if you want to cross the border, shut the hell up.
Oh, that's true. Okay.
Yeah. Oh my god.
I love
Hashtag
Trump.
not my president. The president. The
Hashtag
president,
whatever he
but not my
wants to
president.
do.
Okay.
I'm going to the States in 2 weeks, so
He's
I
an American
love
citizen.
everything.
He can go back.
I'm a dual citizen. Anyway, a new research out of Australia, Deakin School of Health and Social Development, shows that according to straight women, bisexual men make the best lovers. They are the most sexually attentive and emotionally available.
Most women do not even accept bi guys.
Well, according to the women who live down under,
What do you mean they don't accept them?
Women hate that a guy could be into another guy.
The problem is that they haven't included me in the study.
as a
Would have
straight
altered
woman,
that would have in any capacity, and it would have altered the results.
well, I'm curious what you have to say to that. I mean, as somebody who has attractions and relationships with men and women, do you find that you are the best lover?
I have a more limited amount of experience with women than with men, just because of, I mentioned to you earlier before we were taping that I was outed very young as being gay. So I never had the opportunity at a young age, during my adolescence, those, prime years of development, I didn't really have the opportunity to explore relationships with women. So due to my lack of experience with women, I've always imagined that if I have new female partners, I'm probably just for, a lack of my confidence in what I'm doing, down there or anywhere, is I would take a lot more time and be much more patient and kind of like be much more gentle to kind of feel out the situation. And so I've thought in my mind, like, wow, if I don't mention my lack of experience to a woman, she'll probably just be like, oh my God, what a great lover. He just takes his time. He's not afraid to poke around and try things out. And
Poke around. Hashtag poke around.
so,
But that's the whole thing of it, though. It really is about paying attention to what your partner wants. It's not about your satisfaction and your pleasure. It's about their pleasure. That's how you become a better lover.
well, on a more, I was...
Man, jeez.
I'm kind of joking, but on a more serious note, like because of my experience of feeling that I had kind of an oppressive environment and wasn't able to really express myself how I wanted to, I appreciate the opportunity to be able to have someone say, that's fine, you're allowed to feel, you're allowed to want, you're allowed to want to experiment. And that's something that I think lends itself to maybe more of a sensitivity that I have in intimate situations with men or women, is I'm able to kind of say, yeah, you know what, let's take our time. You take your time and do whatever you want to do, because I know what it's like to not be allowed to do what you want to do. So please, explore.
All right, you win this round.
Well, and finally, in Sweden, the town of Övertorneå, I'm completely
Making that up.
destroying that.
Butchering the
But
word,
that's Övertorneå. The city councilor is putting forth a motion that all employees should be allowed to take a 1-hour paid break to go home and have sex.
Yes.
So you'd have a lunch break, you'd have your coffee break, you'd also have a sex break.
Is that enough time?
When is anything going to get done at the
a
office?
separate break.
A separate break.
like, what's the time of this break? Like, are you like, okay, you have an hour? Like, what's
Right
the-
before lunch.
You have to
It's a little
clock in
much.
and out like.
So we have a meal for afterwards.
According to the city councilor, Per Erik Muskos, there are studies that show that sex is healthy and it improves your work performance.
I like how when you don't know how to say a word, you just say it louder, as if that makes
Per
it.
Erik Muskos.
Isn't that the same as giving them like a jerk
But
off
why
break?
can't they just wait until they're done work at 5, then live your life? Like, why?
You're
But
more
then they're not
productive.
thinking about work. They're not thinking about work for their...
Have you never been at work and been like, oh man, I wish I was
how often are you in a bad mood and then like in the middle of the day or at some point during the day you have sex and you're like, wow, that was just what I needed. I'm gonna be so productive now.
Never. If I'm in a bad mood, I wake up in a bad mood, and then
And that's
it
the
goes
rest of the
away.
day.
And that's it.
That's it.
There's no midpoint in my day because of sex.
Is that what the midpoint's supposed to be?
Yes.
And Gordon, Would you have sex in the middle of the day if you had a paid sex break?
Yeah, but I think it's a little much for everyone to do it. Just me.
Just you.
We could rotate, like everyone, you know?
It would be kind of weird coming back to work and thinking everybody
has
just
just-
had sex.
Yeah.
That's true.
Exactly.
It's true. Does everyone get a sex break?
Everyone would get a sex
What
break.
if
But
you have no
you don't have to
partner?
That would be
take
very
it.
What
sad.
if you have more than one partner?
An hour's not
Take
enough.
that hour and
Can
nap.
you give?
I'm
Can you
sorry.
give your break to someone else somehow?
I
or-
don't know. They'll figure it out. Of course, somebody pointed out that you can't patrol that they're having sex. They could just go for a walk. And he said, well, we just have to trust people that they will actually go have sex.
Oh, how's
Like you have to go have sex.
Well, and it's not mandated. It's not like they're cracking down on you. You come back, it's like, okay, let's see your dick, right? Make sure. No, they're not doing that.
Let's move to Sweden, y'all.
Yeah, let's move to if the town of Overtornia wants to set us.
But it's only a
send us-
town, like a small town.
But maybe it'll go national.
It will go viral.
I hope so.
All over Sweden, everybody having sex at work. Endpoints. Tito, Bob of the Week.
Bob of the Week is Brooke Candy featuring Sia, and it's called Living Out Loud.
And actually, I have a Bop of the Week because you refused to make this the Bop of the Week. And I actually think this is a good week to do it. It's the new Lorde single
Very good.
called Green Light.
I swear to
Oh
God,
my
if you
God.
wore that shirt just for this bit.
Yeah.
Ori.
Hey. Yeah, so I am in a play. It's actually happening this week. It starts Wednesday, March 19th at the Alumni Theater at 70 Berkeley. It's called Why, so please come and check us out. It also runs this week, and then there's a third leg, which goes to the 26th.
And what's that website?
AlumniTheater.com.
And David, again, if people want to contact Polyamory Toronto or they want to check out more resources online, what is that website again?
There's polyamorytoronto.ca, and if you look on Meetup and Facebook, they have official groups on both of those as well, searching Polyamory Toronto.
Cool. Thank you very much, David.
Thank you for having me.
Thank everybody, and thank you. Where to find us? You can find us, well, you're watching us, so you found us some way, but there are other ways to find us. On Revry, the online LGBT streaming service. Check us out there, revry.tv. Our crowdfunding site, Patreon, patreon.com/thepointguys. On iTunes, get the audio version of the audio podcast there. On YouTube, youtube.com/thepointguys. And for all things The Point, including back episodes, thepointguys.net. We have a new show every Tuesday, so we will see you next Tuesday on The Point.